Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. On today's episode, I talk with Lakers analyst Raj Chipalu about the series and what we are looking forward to in tonight's Game 2. Before I get to Raj, just a couple of news items. The big news for the Grizzlies is Ja Morant's injury status. It is a closely guarded secret. They say Ja's injury, there's no ligament or tendon damage. Of course, nothing was broken, so it's just a soft tissue injury, and it will be a pain tolerance thing. So the no ligament damage, all that is good. Whether or not Ja can play or will play, or if he can play and be good, those are separate questions. We don't know the answer to any of them. Ja Morant participated in practice on Tuesday. Media members who were there said he didn't really have a wrap on the hand, but no one saw him using the hand. So maybe that's why I will call it a closely guarded secret. We don't know what's going to happen as far as Ja's status for Wednesday night. The other big news for the Grizzlies and for Grizzlies fans is Jaren Jackson Jr. won Defensive Player of the Year. Congratulations, Jaren Jackson Jr. It turned out it wasn't that close of a vote. He beat Brook Lopez and Evan Mobley for the award. He, of course, joins Marc Gasol as the only two players in franchise history to win that award. So congrats to Jaren. Congrats to all of us Grizzlies fans for the recognition of Jaren's stellar season. As far as a preview for Game 2, I mainly get into that with Raj. But one thing I didn't mention last episode that I feel like I should have mentioned that has been a particular obsession of mine this season is I didn't talk about the Grizzlies' closing lineup that they used in Game 1. We wondered all season, and particularly post-trade deadline and post-Steven Adams injury, what would the closing lineup be for the Grizzlies in the playoffs? Who would be the fifth player, basically? We knew it was going to be Ja, but Ja was hurt. So we knew it would be Tyus and Desmond and Dylan and Jaren, who's going to be the fifth guy. In Game 1, they went with Santi Aldama as the fifth guy. Now, obviously, it didn't work in Game 1. You can understand the decisions they're trying to make or what they're trying to balance. They're balancing maybe the superior defense of Xavier Tillman, but then there's the fact that Xavier Tillman is a non-factor offensively. And specifically, I feel like Tillman's main weaknesses are ones that allow Anthony Davis to roam and dominate on defense like he did on Sunday. That Tillman, even if he's in the dunker spot, it's not easy to throw him a lob. He's not good at catching and finishing lobs. So even if you get Anthony Davis involved in the action, you can't hurt the Lakers with like an alley-oop to Tillman. Then when you pass it to Tillman, if he's open, he isn't effective enough at scoring in the paint to score quickly enough or effectively enough before Anthony Davis can react back and get there. So because Tillman is this non-factor or not being effective at scoring when Anthony Davis helps off of him, they went with a more of a threat offensively in Aldama. But of course, you're giving up there. You know, Aldama is a worse defender, a worse rebounder. They did not choose to go super small with like Luke Kennard or something. So it's something we're going to continue to monitor, and it's something I was interested in and felt like I should have talked about last episode. But now I've mentioned it, and we can get into this conversation with Raj. Just a couple of reminders before that happens. The game is early tonight, 6:30 p.m. Central start. If you're in the Memphis area, make sure you get to FedEx Forum early to account for the increased security and the extra amount of people, the longer lines. Make sure you are there early so you're inside the building before tip-off. And if you're in Nashville, make sure you come out to the watch party at Noble's Beer Hall. I will be there. The game, again, starts at 6:30 p.m. Hopefully, I will see you there. All right, now let's talk with Raj Chipalu. I'm joined right now by Raj Chipalu, who does the All Access Lakers Playback Room. Raj, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's early here on the West Coast. It's like around 7 a.m., but playoffs are here, so no sleep. No sleep for the
That's
wear.
right. Were you too excited to sleep?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was up early, 5 a.m., just, going back and watching the film. Feels like we haven't played in forever, like all these games going on.
Yeah.
Sunday feels like 3 years ago, and it was only 3 days ago. So,
well, initially, as Grizzlies fans, we were bemoaning the many days off in between games 1 and 2 and games 2 and 3. Oh, how the turntables. Now with Ja Morant nursing a hurt and sore hand, maybe the extra time off will give him a little bit, extra time to heal. He is questionable for game 2, which is on Wednesday night. Traditionally, this year, when a Grizzlies player is questionable, a lot of times that's yes, they're going to play. So I think a lot of Grizzlies fans are feeling that way. If I had to guess, I'm going no, he's not going to play, because maybe they want to give him, because of these extra 2 days off after tonight's game, then you give him that much longer to heal. And also the Grizzlies really trust Tyus Jones. Obviously, he's been in this position many times. But of course, after you lose game 1 at home, which is a habit of the Grizzlies, it turns out, you have to win game 2. Now, from your perspective as a Lakers fan and analyst, how do the Lakers avoid the natural letdown? Because most of the time when a home team loses game 1, they win game 2. And so right now I'm seeing, as far as a gambling line, I'm seeing Grizzlies either even, basically a pick 'em, or, Lakers are favored by 1. Traditionally, the home team would win this situation. How do the Lakers keep that from happening?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I always say there's no desperation, right? Like a team down 0-1 at home who lost the first home game. There's no desperation like that. You have to kind of match that. To me, it's like, do the Lakers feel greedy enough? And I think if Ja was playing, that line would be a lot more, right? Obviously, that line is because of the question on Ja.
Yeah.
I think they would be favored a lot more if he was playing. But to me, do they smell blood in the water? Like, that's what it is. To me, I think the Grizzlies are going to throw the first punch. Like, I would expect them to come out with a big haymaker, and the Lakers try to pull back within the game. But there's going to be a moment to me in game 2 where the Lakers can kind of take control if they'd like, if they can want to get greedy, if they smell blood. LeBron does this in playoff series. Us as Laker fans, and no one wants to hear, tears of Laker fans. But I mean, this is like year 5 of LeBron, and this is only like really our second real playoff run, right? Because AD got hurt in the second one, and there's injuries just throughout the others. So in those playoff series, LeBron kind of has a good sense, dude that's been to the finals a bajillion times, but he has a good sense of like when a team is down, or when they're, bleeding, or when they're when it's really
keep saying blood. I'm just letting you know.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's fine.
But blood in the water. Yes, sir. This aggressive time here, but yeah, like LeBron has a really good sense of when to take over. And I think this is a chance here. If Ja sits, then you have a really good shot of going up 2-0, which really is super rare. The last one that I remember was, I think, the Clippers going down 0-2, right, to the Dallas Mavericks, who eventually lost that series anyway. The Clippers came back and won, but it's a big chance here if Ja Morant doesn't play, and that's how they can do it. But I think it's gonna be tough to match that desperation, even with Ja out. Like you talked about, I think Memphis has a lot of different weapons to go to, and it's a different style to me. Once Ja for Tyus Jones, you can't defend them the same way either. So so to me, that's the way.
One of the ways the Grizzlies have won the past 2 seasons, it wasn't as pronounced this year. I mean, last year it was their record, I can't remember the exact number. They're like 21-4 without Ja Morant 2 years ago. This year it's been more up and down, but they've had a lot of different players in and out. The one thing the Grizzlies I think do a little bit better when Tyus Jones is out there is first of all, that they defend better. Second, they take care of the basketball a little bit better. And third, I think the ball whips around a little bit more. I mean, Ja Morant is a great passer. He's great at setting up his teammates, but a lot of that comes off of individual creation, where when Tyus Jones is out there, it's just whipping the ball around, and maybe it's a slightly more egalitarian offense. Maybe it's a little bit tougher to defend. But I think as Grizzlies fans, what we're looking at for game 2 is basically crossing our fingers that every Lakers player won't have a good game. Like, I mean, we can say like, all right, Rui, incredible game. 29 points. Austin Reaves, we know he can do it, but still, that's on the, as far as the spectrum of games, that was an excellent game. And then you still have like, Anthony Davis was amazing. And LeBron James, maybe a little sloppy with the basketball, but he's LeBron James, still good. Even D'Angelo Russell had a good game. Like up and down the roster, you're like, man, no one really, no one stumbled in their first playoff game one. So as Grizzlies fans were like, all right, they're not going to shoot 68% in the second half again. Now, the flip side of that for me as like a Grizzlies fan who worries is like, Jaren's not going to be any better because he was awesome. Jaren was really, really good. What's something that you think, what's a thing that you were maybe optimistic about that now you're kind of worried about might change in game 2?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the Grizzlies are going to push the pace a lot more as well. And I also think Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to pop more. And like I said, with if Jaw's out, I think so they're having Anthony Davis just stick in a drop back, right? Because if you think about it, they want to live with John Morant taking jump shots. They're going to live with Dylan Brooks taking jump shots. If that's Tyus Jones, you can't do that, right? He can shoot. And then also Desmond Bane is more coming off screens. I thought he had a little bit tougher time. I don't think he's going to shoot 6 for 18 as well. So that's a place where I think, Jaren Jackson Jr. wasn't in foul trouble, and that's something that's been kind of plastered everywhere. I think this is a series where he's not really on AD, right? He's more roaming as well. LeBron's been kind of taking jump shots, so we'll see if he's still effective there. But to me, that's where it is. I think Memphis is going to push the pace. They're at home, and Desmond Bane's not going to play as poorly as he did. But with the Lakers, Rui Hachimura obviously just left Earth, right? In the second half, he hit like 5 threes, and that's the thing that was kind of plastered everywhere. But Keith, this has kind of been a culmination for Rui Hachimura, right? Obviously, it wasn't supposed to culminate in a near 30-point game one against the Grizzlies, but his confidence has slowly grown and grown. He's become like a real release valve for the team since he came over from Washington. He's not the player that that Washington traded over here. He's much more of a defensive force. I thought they dominated the Grizzlies on the boards as well. You had every time AD would go up and Jaren Jackson comes over to help, it's like Luke Kennard trying to box out Rui Hachimura.
Right. That happened a few times. Yeah.
Right. Or trying to box out Jared Vanderbilt, who's creating chaos in there. And to me, that's where the Lakers, that's the consistency they can have. Rui's not going to shoot like that, but he doesn't need to. You can have Malik Beasley. Troy Brown's been shooting 40% from 3 for the Lakers. So they have a few guys that can kind of take shots. He was just the one that's open. And the guy that is kind of hot, the Lakers do this because they have a lot of players that teams just don't guard, like Jaren Vanderbilt, Dennis Schroeder. Those guys will set little pin screens on the other side for whoever's kind of hot. And you saw Dennis and Jared do that for Rui a few times. And he just hit a huge, like back-breaking shots against the Grizzlies. I don't think he's going to shoot 5 threes again, but Rui's going to get you like 15, like on pretty good efficiency. He finishes in transition. He gets offensive rebounds. He hits his little mid-range fadeaways. And like 15 from Rui, if you can get, D'Lo's kind of live around that 15, 17. Austin Reaves, I'm sure we'll get into him a little bit later. But yeah, that's where the Lakers can be consistent with it. But yeah, that shooting's probably not going to happen.
Have you looked at Rui Hachimura's career playoff stats now for this one? So he played 5 games for the Wizards 2 seasons ago, and now count? Combined with this one, like for his playoff career. The man is the most accurate 3-point shooter in NBA history in the playoffs. He's shooting 67% in the playoffs. It's only 14 for 21, but still. And also the top 10 list of most accurate 3-point shooters is hilarious. I think Kevin Knox is second for postseason. Small sample size. But the guy averages 17 points now in the playoffs and is incredibly efficient. I want it to stop. I'll be real. No, I want to talk about some of these game plan things that we saw in game one. You kind of specifically mentioned the Lakers are comfortable with like Dylan Brooks shooting, and they are comfortable, I'd say, with Santi Aldama's shooting, even though Santi made a couple. Like they didn't sit like they're pinching in. They want to
exactly.
You have AD and drop. And in this situation, Ja was not effective, I feel like, attacking this. I think he beat Jared Vanderbilt, one time where like he rejected a screen, but that was early, and it was still a spectacular finish over AD. Most of the other times going at AD, a terrible idea. AD snuffed out all of that stuff. As far as the Grizzlies are concerned, it seemed like one of the things they said was, all right, we left Rui Hachimura open a lot. That was by design. Maybe we will adjust that. It also seemed like to maybe like a podcaster like myself, like I'm not an X's and O's guy, but it did seem like we were doing a lot of double teams and they were the least convincing double teams of all time. And it's like, why either go or don't go? But also my thought was like, if Dylan Brooks is guarding AD, we live with that. If if Xavier Tillman is guarding AD, we live with that. Because I think, and I don't know if you agree, it looked like to me the Lakers decided if Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to post up, we live with that. Like
100%.
Like we were all fired up. I was in the building and it was super exciting. Like Jaren keeps hooping on LeBron James. And we're like, oh man, he's posted him up. He's using his size. And then it's like, oh, Ruri's on him. Jared Vanderbilt's on him. Get Jaren the ball. And honestly, it was really great discipline for the Grizzlies to keep going back to Jaren. And Jaren had a fantastic game. I want to say he might have scored in every post-up situation, but like, that's not normal. And he's probably not going to do it. But it also seemed like the Lakers are saying, yeah, cool. It's 2 points. We'll accept that.
That's the fascinating part here. So we had LeBron on Jaren Jackson Jr., right?
Yeah.
That was the matchup. And I really like that. Number one, it keeps LeBron engaged, right? This is not the best way to put it, but a guy he respects on defense,
Sure.
right? Like there's players that you put him on and he's just not going to guard them. Dylan Brooks as well. That's a guy that you want him shooting, but there's a level of engagement you at least need to have with Dylan Brooks, right? He can still punish you on the offensive glass, stuff like that. But you put him on Jaren Jackson Jr., you have no choice but to be engaged. You have no choice but to defend him. And yeah, the Lakers are going to live with it. Number one, because if the Memphis's offense is Jaren Jackson Jr. 4 dribbles into a post hook over LeBron James, that number one doesn't get anyone else involved, doesn't put anyone in foul trouble. It's a 2-point shot. Like we live with that as the offense. And then you also still have AD just roving off of Xavier Tillman, right? To come over and help and block the shot or contest or just give some pressure as well on Jaren Jackson. And yeah, with the Grizzlies side though, they were shading on AD, right? So it wasn't a hard double.
Right.
Like Xavier Tillman, and you have Jaren Jackson Jr. kind of shading on that. And that's kind of, I don't think they want to go full double yet. Most teams don't in game one. AD kind of struggles actually with the aggressive double, but Memphis did the like shading so he can kind of read the defense. The issue with that though, like once Jaren Jackson comes over, this, Keith, once he comes over to help, now you're susceptible to offensive rebounds, right? Because who's protecting the basket in there? So that's going to be the interesting chess match to me. They're still starting Tillman with Jackson. I think that messes up the spacing as well. I wonder if they go small in game 2. That's another adjustment I wonder if they go to. But yeah, it's interesting. They've decided that they're going to shade over on AD, not make him beat him. Dylan Brooks is face guarding LeBron James, 35 feet from the basket. So much so that we put LeBron on the corner in the end of games.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get Dylan Brooks out of the play. LeBron's going to sit over
Reaves
here.
Cook. Sorry to interrupt you. No, it was just LeBron just standing in the corner, and it's like, this is Austin Reaves' team now.
No, he's like, yeah, let's double drag with D'Lo and AD.
Yeah.
Austin Reaves decide where the ball goes.
Yeah.
And he hit like 4 straight jumpers and assist to Austin Reaves and assist to Rui Hachimura from behind the back. But yeah, I'm interested in what the adjustment is there. But I don't think LeBron's just gonna be as passive the whole series like that. But Austin Reaves has it going, so he's like, let him go. And he screamed, I'm him at the end of that.
With the Grizzlies shading over on AD, like I'm not, after watching a lot of the game again, like there were times where AD turned to score and there was a second Grizzlies defender there, so it was helpful at some times. It wasn't just like the highlighted plays I know I put on my last episode of like, look at Santi Aldama kind of in no man's land, and here's Rui Hachimura getting an offensive rebound. Like it wasn't all bad, and that's when you're dealing with AD, like you got to make choices, and the Lakers have a lot of good offensive players. Going to the rebounding now. This is something that I guess I'll ask you, like, what are game plan adjustments the Grizzlies can make to improve their rebounding? Because I'll say Taylor Jenkins specifically said after the game, we didn't execute our game plan and get rebounds. And I'm like, we're bad at rebounding. I don't know what adjustment, like you can't be like, hey, Tyus, you need to block out Rui Hachimura better. Like, Tyus is small, and he's like, so like, I'm curious, what adjustments do you think the Grizzlies could do, or what maybe was Taylor Jenkins? What do you think he meant when he was like, our game plan was to rebound and we didn't do it?
Right. So Memphis obviously wants to run, right? So they're going to try to leak out all the time. And I think what their adjustment will have to be is the guards have to come down and box out. I think that's just what they're going to have to do. Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane are going to come down and have to box out Jared Vanderbilt. And that's not an easy task, right? It's easier said than done. Like, it's tough to have to. They're sending 2 guys to box out an AD already. If you're watching the boards, like Jaren Jackson's on there. There's one more guy at least. Usually Tillman boxing out AD, and it's tough if that's like Jaren Vanderbilt now flying in. You have to account for him. If LeBron's attacking the offensive glass, you have to kind of account for him. But to me, that's the adjustment there. Get more guys down on the block to box out and try to take away those easy ones. And it's not just the offensive rebounds key. It's like the tap outs, right? Those are the ones that like Vanderbilt really gets to, that he likes to do. Rui Hachimura as well against like Kennard and all those guys. And Memphis still kind of small, so like it's going to be a group effort for them to go down and take away the glass. Jackson is a really good rebounder, obviously. obviously, but those other guys, I think, really have to come down to help. But yeah, easier said than done. That's a place that the Lakers want to take advantage of. That's part of their thinking and their game plan, right? So anytime AD has a guy come over or LeBron attacks the rim, if he can just get it on the glass, like you saw a couple plays where Austin Reaves just like got it up there, right? So AD can catch it and then put it back. That's part of their kind of design in their offense, along with getting fouls as well. So both of those things are in their tool house of trying to win. So yeah, that to me, that's the Memphis adjustment though. The guards have to come down and help. Brooks is enough. Dillon Brooks and Desmond Bane are physical enough, I think, to do that. It's just will they do that?
Yeah, they're not. It's not their natural thought. Like Dillon's he flat out. He's generally a bad rebounder. He normally sells out so much to contest on defense, where he's just like he's out of the play as far as getting his offensive rebounds. I mean, that's something that again I think everyone highlighted this going into the series. Like rebounding is going to be a problem, and I don't think there's much the Grizzlies can do. They have to like they're going to lose the rebounding battle. They're probably going to lose the second chance battle. Like you said, Austin Reaves just getting the shot on the glass. That was the Grizzlies offense back when Steven Adams was around, or even back when Jonas Valanciunas was around. Our literal offense was just get it up there. Like Ja's going to draw everybody and just get it on the glass, get it on the rim, and then we'll get the offensive rebound. So I think most people were right. Like that's something we anticipated. There were other things we anticipated being correct, like Jaren started out on Vanderbilt, so he could roam. We saw Jared Vanderbilt guarding Ja. I think most people got that right. What's something that that you might have predicted, or you heard a lot of people talking about that we were wrong about, or something that surprised you in game one? We were like, I anticipated this, but it turned out to be different.
Yeah, I guess the number one thing, so LeBron and AD have a propensity to come out really lackadaisical in game ones. Obviously, they don't have too many playoff series under the belt, but the ones that they have played, they've lost a lot of game ones, right? And I expected Memphis to come out and actually, like, I thought they would, blow the doors off in game one. Even Lakers off of 4 days rest, just came off like a huge playoff push to just barely get in, right? Barely beat the Minnesota Timberwolves to kind of get into the playoffs. And I thought Memphis would kind of run them out. And number one, I didn't think that we'd be able to control the pace as much as we did. I thought the Lakers did a fantastic job, and Memphis can do things like I talked about, but still hard to run when you're getting killed on the boards, right? That's a really tough situation to run so much when, you're giving offensive rebounds. But to me, I was surprised at that. We kept Ja out of the paint pretty much as you could. He had 8 field goal makes. 4 of them only were in the restricted area, right? So if you can keep him out of there, and that's a really tough. I'm not sure there's a lot better like combinations where like you have Vanderbilt on you and you screen off to get AD. Like that's a really tough, like that's a tough combination to work with. And I was looking at the game they played in Memphis. Remember, Ja hit like 50 floaters, I swear, in that game.
Right.
He had like 28 in the third.
The 28 third quarter, the highest scoring quarter of any player this year. Yep.
Exactly. And the adjustment there, actually, we had to put AD on Jaren Jackson, right? Because who started that game was Troy Brown, Malik Beasley, Dennis Schroeder, right? And LeBron didn't even play that game. Right. So AD had to start on Jaren Jackson. And when you do that, now AD can't be up on those screens, right? Because he's not the one guarding. So now it's Vanderbilt on him that he can kind of pick up full court. So I think that's an interesting kind of wrinkle there. I think Ja, if he plays, he's going to figure it out. It's tough to stop a superstar for a whole playoff series. You're not going to hold Ja to what they did. I mean, he was 8 for 14, very efficient. I just thought like he didn't get to his spots.
Well, I think that's the big thing where it's weird where we saw a lot of the mid-range jumpers go in. We saw him make a couple 3-pointers where, he was pretty open. The Lakers weren't worried about that so much, but he wasn't getting in the lane. When he got in the lane, his finishes looked weird. And I was confused about this. Like his left hand is taped, but like it seemed like he shot more right-handed shots than normal in the paint. And maybe that's just the AD effect, but it wasn't his total normal game. The 2 assists and 6 turnovers, which is, abnormal, of course. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about what the Lakers might actually change, what adjustments they could do in game 2. We'll do that right after this word from our sponsor. Grizzlies fans, get with us and your fellow Grizz fans at the official Grizzlies playoff watch parties. If you're in Memphis, they have games 3 and 4 watch parties on Saturday, April 22nd at 9 p.m. and Monday, April 24th at the Fourth Bluff Park in downtown Memphis. If you're in Nashville, come out and hang out with me for every playoff game at Noble's Beer Hall on Main Street. We'll be up there on Wednesday, April 19th at 6:30 p.m. Central. Visit grizzlies.com/playoffs for all the details about these watch parties. All right, so what's something you think that maybe the Lakers could change for their game plan in game 2? Like, what's an adjustment they could do? Like, they don't want to sit on their haunches and be like, hey, we're up 1-0, like you said, blood in the water. Like, let's go. Let's go take this team out. Let's not mess around, especially if Ja Morant misses the game. This is our opportunity to take a commanding lead.
Yeah.
What's something you think that the Lakers could even improve on?
So usually, actually, coaches like who win game 1, they don't adjust too much in game 2.
Like they're like, hey, it worked out. It worked out.
They're pretty much like in a reaction. Yeah, they're in like the reaction state, right? They're like, okay, if this worked, beat this first before I change. But to me, so AD was a plus 27, and a lot of that was that fourth quarter, right? Where like the Lakers
I'm giving him a plus 17. The final 1 minute where it looked like a fan, halftime kids basketball where everyone forgot how to dribble. I'm giving AD officially a plus 17, but it's still, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. Yeah. Plus 27 goes down to a plus 17. Sure. Even plus 17, right? It was a much tighter game than plus 17, right? It was a 1-point game, 2-point game before all those, for the Austin Reaves barrage that came through the doors. But to me, it's the non-AD minutes where we're gonna have to really look at it, right? That's where this series to me could flip, honestly, right? Because you have Rui. So we went with Rui Hachimura and LeBron James as the backup before 5. Did not play Wenyen Gabriel, which I predicted. This is not a series for Wenyen Gabriel. He's not good against guards who can attack you in your chest. He's a lateral big who can move his feet, but he can't really guard once people get into him and elevate. But I'm interested to see where they go with that. Mo Bamba obviously was the guy they traded Patrick Beverley for. He hasn't played. He's healthy. He just has not got a chance, but he's like a 7-footer, long wingspan. Just a guy to throw in there. And something really interesting that Taylor Jenkins did, and then the Minnesota coach Chris Finch actually also did, was they played Karl Anthony Towns and Jaren Jackson Jr. in the non-AD minutes, right? And that's really nice minutes to cook and be able to get your big going, get some points. Jackson cooked us in those lineups. Hachimura just doesn't have the lateral quickness, and then Jared Vanderbilt has no chance against Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. We tried that for 2 minutes, and Darvin Ham really quickly was like, no, timeout, get that off of him. Which I was like really happy about. I was like, that was a really nice adjustment there because it could have went left really quick. But that, to me, that's where like they have to figure out those second units, those LeBron-led bench units. I honestly, Keith, just want those to be able to trade baskets, baskets, give up jump shots, maybe go a little bit of zone, kind of keep Jackson out of the paint. But to me, that's where the adjustment should come. I think everything else they're going to try to kind of keep as it was, run the same kind of actions, obviously play off Dylan Brooks. Tyus Jones obviously changes the calculus and how you can do that, because that gives you one more shooter and that just changes how you have to guard. But if it's Ja Morant again, I think they're going to stick with that game plan. And I'm interested to see what the tweak is on those because we lost those by a ton. And that's been consistent. We've had a hard time. It used to be in the past. It used to be the non-LeBron minutes, right? Where we would really get destroyed. But this team has enough guard play to supplement AD more than we have bigs to supplement LeBron. So now it's like, how do we survive without Anthony Davis is really the question. And that'll decide if this is a short or long series to me. Where are those minutes?
Yeah, that makes sense. The problem for my Grizzlies is we don't have our depth anymore. And it's no longer like, this was the formula last year and the year before. Like when the other team goes to their second unit, our second unit is superior. Our second unit is now, frankly, terrible. Like there's no one left. I mean, I think one thing noticeable for the Grizzlies that they got to work on is recognizing who's being left open and trying to prioritize, either if it's Bane. We know he was a little bit off, but like, I think Bane needs to initiate offense more. Kennard only had, I believe, 4 shot attempts. Like Kennard's got to shoot more in his 25 minutes of play, but like that's going to be an issue for the Grizzlies, just their lack of depth. I do think an adjustment the Grizzlies could make as far as just who plays. I wouldn't be surprised if Ja Morant is out. I wouldn't be surprised if Conchar plays a little bit, and I'm not super excited about that, but like he's a little bit better ball handler than David Roddy. I think he's a better rebounder. And so like maybe Conchar plays a little bit, but I do think an adjustment maybe both teams could make, and maybe it won't be in game 2, but later on in the series, is just shortening those rotations even more and cranking the minutes up even more. From a Grizzlies side, I look at Jaren not being in foul trouble and playing 37 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, please have more. Like, I need more. Like, we don't have, and then, like Dylan was in fake foul trouble. He got 3 fouls in the first half. And also the Grizzlies, by the way, went on a run once he went to the bench. I don't really connect those two things, but it's possible. I'll allow you that. Looking at the Lakers side, like what if, like, would they ever crank up? I know AD, LeBron, maybe twilights of their careers. I don't mean to disrespect AD, who just thoroughly dominated everyone on Sunday, but like Austin Reaves played 30 minutes. Like, are they going to, or maybe they cut Troy Brown out of the rotation or like shorten it even further? Like, what do you think about maybe the Lakers actually cranking up the minutes for their guys?
Yeah, so it's funny, so last night it was Suns Clippers, right? And KD and Booker just playing 45 minutes a game just to win. And it's funny watching, these two teams. No, so Jackson playing 37 is really interesting. I didn't really understand that. I think he could probably go a lot more, and it's probably going to have to. I'm not sure they can survive, with him off, especially without Ja, without Steven Adams, without Brandon Clark. He's gonna have to play more. The Lakers, it's been interesting. Darvin Ham's been playing like 10, 11 guys, right? Just it's a brand new team. So and he's only had like D'Lo, LeBron, and AD for 9 games now. Like with just guys sit out every other, D'Lo's been out. LeBron obviously was out. AD came back. But yeah, it's been interesting. He hasn't really gone them to like 40, 45 minutes a ton. I think LeBron played like 43 in the Minnesota playing game that went to overtime for no good reason, but it went to overtime.
Right.
So yeah, I'm interested to see if he ups those minutes. But right now he's like, look, I can survive with my bench. I have enough, scoring to kind of supplement. He's gonna be like, okay, let me see. Does Malik Beasley, can he shoot tonight? Let me see. Here's 10 minutes.
Right.
Let's see if it goes in. If not, then he's not playing anymore, right? Troy Brown, solid. If he's just solid defensively, gives you a wing to kind of play. Rui Hachimura, I think, is cemented. Dennis Schroeder, another guy that Darvin Ham loves. I don't think this is a Dennis Schroeder series, but it's another guard into the rotation you got to throw. He got his 20 minutes. They're going to see if he has it. And that's just Darvin Ham's going to be pressing buttons every night. And I think with the Grizzlies, they have more of like a solid foundational rotation where you're like, okay, we're playing these 7-8 guys. And I think that's kind of also where they can adjust and just play those guys more. You obviously don't want to wear them down as well. It's supposed to be a long series, but those guys are young enough. I think Jackson as well should be up in the 40s.
That's the thing with, maybe this all goes back to Mike Budenholzer because you got Darvin Ham and Taylor Jenkins, both from the Budenholzer tree. Taylor Jenkins famously, for us Grizzlies fans, like he went 10 deep in the playoffs most of last year and the year before, especially in game ones of series. He would not play guys heavy minutes. I honestly think that was an adjustment. Like for this game 1 on Sunday, that was shortening the rotation. Like he didn't, he actually went to 37, but now I think we need to go ahead and skip ahead to that game 6. Like, let's go ahead and be like, Desmond Bane can't play 37 minutes. Desmond Bane has to play 43 minutes. Like we can't survive. For me, at least that's my opinion. I know Desmond Bane's was foul trouble, but like they took Desmond Bane out with 4 fouls in the third quarter. The Grizzlies were up 4. And then the Lakers outscored him by 10 for the rest of the third quarter. So the Lakers were led by 6 while Desmond Bane is sitting on the sideline. And I'm just like, you can't voluntarily foul out Desmond Bane. We don't have a bench anymore. Like you got to play the guys.
Can I ask you about Desmond Bane? Because I'm fascinated about this. Because like I said, John Morant and Dylan Brooks, we're really okay with them taking jump shots, and it allows AD to just be like, if you're giving AD also a defensive advantage, you're gonna have a really tough time scoring already on a half court offense that isn't great, right? I think Memphis is like a middle of the pack half court offense at least. So AD can sit back, no roller behind coverage. You just let Jaren Jackson Jr. not get behind you, and then you live with whatever the guards do. To me, Desmond Bane is the fascinating one. Do you think Desmond can hit enough pull-up jumpers like off the dribble, to make the big, whoever it is, come up on that? Because they were obviously chasing him, right? Top locking him. Austin Reaves was chasing him around. I thought he did a pretty nice job. Desmond Bane's only real shots were like from 35 feet away. One transition 3 where Austin's like, what the hell? Did you just shoot that? And it swished right through. That's kind of where he was getting going. I think he got like 1 mid-range pull-up. AD and LeBron, I could tell, really wanted to swat his shot. Like they didn't just block it. They don't like him. They absolutely like pin that to the backboard a few times. And you could tell there was some ferociousness in those blocks in a way where they could have kind of kept that in play. But like I'm asking you, is Desmond Bane a guy? Because I think that's the counter as well, right? You need at least one guy who can hit shots off the dribble. Tyus Jones can do it. He's more of like methodical though in his offense.
But I would say that's one thing. If we're going with if Tyus Jones ends up starting on Wednesday night, that is his bread and butter, is the 8 to 10 foot floater. And I think specifically with 80 out there, that's a weapon that needs to be used. And again, I still think Ja Morant wasn't handling the ball that well, possibly because of his taped hand, because like he can hit those floaters, he can score. But it's not normally his were all like jump shots in game 1, not the floater. As far as your question about Desmond Bane, it's not a strength of his, but I also think some of that is just Morey ball, and everyone is so conditioned to shoot threes and layups that maybe he doesn't shoot them as often. But I do think, and I said it earlier, like I would like to see Desmond Bane initiate more offense and have him do more of that, because I do think he can score. He can also play make. And so like, I would love to see Desmond Bane, he's really good at those, we call it downhill Des, when he just attacks to the basket, uses his shoulders to bump the defender offline. Unfortunately, he had a little bit of tunnel vision in this one, and you have either LeBron doing the chase down or AD just standing there, and it wasn't as effective in game one. Let's close with this. It's kind of funny. I mean, I haven't acknowledged it on the show yet. By the way, congratulations, Jaren Jackson Jr., winning Defensive Player of the Year. We're all very excited as Grizzlies fans. The national conversation of, should we give it to the best defensive player or a very good defensive player who played more? I'm glad that conversation is over. But it always is kind of funny when these post-season games happen and then the regular season awards come out, and like Jaren getting his Defensive Player of the Year trophy the day after Anthony Davis was far and away the best defensive player on the court, absolutely ruining the Grizzlies. What's the Laker fan reaction? Did you just sit back and be like, what can we do here?
So I think the better picture to me is like Jaren Jackson Jr. getting his Defensive Player of the Year while Austin Reaves just cooks the drop coverage single time. That was the gold, right?
That's right.
No.
That's right. And Rui gets a poster. Like
exactly.
Jaren finally tries to close out, but he's a little reckless. Rui just waltzes past him, posterizes.
Yeah, no. Look, it's a deserved award. Jaren Jackson Jr. is an incredible defender, a guy who can switch on the the perimeter and also protect the rim, leading the Grizzlies, and being like the one option as well with John Moran out for his, what he was out for. I think it was deserved. That's a regular season award though, right? It's a regular season award, honestly. And to me, AD's, well, number one, the Lakers weren't a good defense team for a lot of this year, right? Mostly that was roster construction, but they just weren't like they weren't a defensive team that you can, and their record was just not respectable. Right. They were like 6 games under 500, which is still miraculous that they have a chance to win a playoff series here. But they went on like a 19-7 run or something to close the season. And maybe, AD, I think, played the requisite games for this season, played 55 games, played 1,000 more minutes or something, right? Than Jaren Jackson Jr. or something like that.
I don't think it was it 1,000? I don't think that's
not
right.
1,000. Oh, not 1,000.
It's all right. No, he played basically. He did play more minutes than Jaren.
Yeah. Sorry, I must have the numbers wrong.
Oh, it's all fine.
He played more minutes than Jaren Jackson Jr. And look, I'm not mad at that. I'm mad more that like Giannis took his 2020 Defensive Player of the Year award. I think that was the one. That's the one that sits more with Laker fans. This one, I think Jaren Jackson Jr. Deserved it. Is a great defensive player. I'm not mad at it. I want AD to get one at least. I don't think it's right that the guy in Minnesota has 3 already. I think that's a little bit more.
So he has 0.
Yes, AD does not have.
So
one.
He's 4 all defensive teams. That's rough. That is rough right there.
And part of that is also the injuries, right? Like he just misses
the games played.
He just misses huge chunks of the season, even if the final game total isn't terrible. It's just a huge chunk, right? So he missed from January to February. And I was like, it's a huge chunk of the season where voters are paying attention, and it just the narrative of the Defensive Player of the Year is kind of set by the time he comes back and makes a run, which is is frustrating, but. Yeah, I'm not mad at this one. I'm more mad at the 2020 Giannis taking the one that Brook Lopez really has a lot of the name on it.
Unfortunately for AD, we all know what he can do. I mean, he's obviously, when the Lakers made the trade for him, no one batted an eye because it's Anthony Davis. You're like, that guy's incredible. But he has only played over 70 games twice in his career, which makes it hard for him to win a lot of the regular season awards, such as Defensive Player of the Year. Also, we see this in other players where it's like, Jimmy Butler's not going to be all NBA, or he might not. And then you watch Jimmy Butler in the playoffs and you're like, good Lord, man, that guy's incredible. Or like Kawhi Leonard, like watching Kawhi Leonard on Tuesday night. Man. You're like, this guy's amazing. Or Draymond. Like Draymond, most people are like, that is he's obviously one of the best defensive players ever. Oh, by the way, the Warriors, you guys were garbage in the regular season. Sorry, you don't get you don't get regular season awards. Did it feel like to you, because I know it felt like it to Grizzlies fans, that we were trying to attack AD one-on-one over and over and over? Because that was still a thing where do we have to?
Yeah.
I know we want to play him honest, but still maybe don't go one-on-one at him over and over and over.
Well, so it's funny, not just that the Lakers funnel you into that, right? That's not by accident. I'm not saying that the Grizzlies can't go in other options, but that's the Lakers game plan, right? Jared Vanderbilt, Dennis Schroeder, who's Austin Reaves. be hyper aggressive, right? Because you have Anthony Davis behind you. So funnel that to him, especially when he's on a guy that, Xavier Tillman, who they don't really have to like account for as much. So
Correct.
AD can really
Yep.
AD can really be, aggressive in help situations. And yeah, it's tough to like not go there. The guy's giving you like the right side of the lane, AD sitting on the right side. You're trying to drive and kick, and AD's so pterodactyl that like he'll take away passes.
I like that adjective.
So like he takes away passes that you think are there, right? So like there are a lot of those turnovers as well. There was first possession of the game, Jaren Vanderbilt picking up John Morant, right, and then Tillman rolls, and then Jared Vanderbilt tags Tillman, gets back on Jaw, and then it's like Jaw AD trapping the side ball screen, right, and Vando picks it from behind, and that's just like that's a lot of arms to like. AD is almost an extra baseline there. Where you're like, okay, where do I go from here? And you could tell that kind of it sped Jaw, but like that to me, that's where AD can really affect the game, and it's not like I don't think Memphis is going in like, yeah, let's attack Anthony Davis. It's usually not the game plan. I just think like the Lakers funnel you into that. They take away, they run you off the 3-point line, and they try to keep you off the line, and they funnel to you to take tough long twos against the contesting hand of Anthony Davis. And John Morant hit a bunch of those, actually. Like a bunch of those turning, fading ones. He had 4 straight jumpers, I think, and the Lakers didn't bat an eye, right? They're like, go ahead, we're gonna live with those. So yeah, it's interesting. I'll see if they go away from that. They go attack in other places. One thing also, Keith, what I think Dillon Brooks progressively got more and more disrespected by having D'Angelo Russell on him. It felt like throughout the game. I could just tell like that was progressively getting more like, I got to attack this guy.
I like it when Dillon attacks. I don't like it when Dillon, he's good. All NBA players basically have to take wide open threes. I do feel that. Like, you can't pass up. If you're wide open and the defense is saying, please shoot, most of the time you still got to shoot, because otherwise you might not get a better look. That's probably going to be the best look you get that whole possession, especially when AD is baiting you into, hey, please drive in here. Like, please, Xavier Tillman, put the ball on the ground and try to dribble into me. This is what I'm hoping for. But I do want Dillon to do what he did in the second half, which is attack the basket. Pump fake once. Do like Austin Reaves does. Pump fake and then beat your guy. Sometimes you'll shoot the 3, obviously. So I do want Dillon to attack a little more. But I've kept you way too long. Anyways,
no, you're good. You're good. You had you had opinions on Reaves as a role player, right? I think
I can put that in the outline. I just want to say, this is a thing that keeps coming up where people are like, the Lakers role players aren't going to play that well in every game. And I mean, no disrespect, but I've started pushing back and being like, would we call Austin Reaves a role player? And so I don't know. Like, I think Austin Reaves has progressed beyond that this year. Maybe it's just semantics of a word. Like, would you call Dillon Brooks a role player? You could, but for me, he's more than that. He's a guy who's going to play 35 minutes a game. So like, do you think Austin Reaves, has he transcended the tag of being called a role player?
I don't know if he's transcended like that tag. I honestly like he's above whatever Troy Brown is, whatever,
I'm going to give Troy Brown so that's also again, that could be a role player.
Like,
sure. Yeah.
I'm saying like, so Troy Brown is very dependent on someone creating shots for him, right? Like, he's very dependent on whoever's out there. To me, like, Austin Reaves is like, I can give him the ball and score. And I think, the playoffs, Keith, kind of tell you who guys are, right? And I think that's the Grizzlies. Obviously, the playoffs really cemented them as like a legit team, and they've gone and won a ton of games after that playing game against the Warriors. But Reaves, last 10 games of the regular season, he was at 19-6 on 58, 45, and 85 splits. And that's insane numbers for games that were all must win. And I'm interested to see, like, he dropped 24 in that one. The first play of the game, though, showed me a lot. Like, it was like a drive on Dillon Brooks. He was trying to get the foul call, and then he like flexed. I'm like, what? This is the first like possession of the game. But he's been like that all season. I'm interested to see what he is. But Lakers just have a smooth backcourt now where him and D'Lo can kind of play off. I don't think he's going to average 24, obviously, this series. If he does, he's going to cost a lot more than Lakers are probably trying to kind of ham this summer.
You got to have to open the checkbook, no question.
Open the book. That floor is already high enough that you got to pay. You got to open your book anyway. But I would still think I don't think he's a star, but I think he's surpassed like the 3-and-D guy that just sits in the corner and is so super reliant on LeBron and AD to create everything, right? He's surpassed that. And there's a cool stat that Pickup Hoover tweeted out. Lakers, in the 2020 title run, they only had one time where someone else scored 20 points other than LeBron and AD. And that was Rajon Rondo in Game 3 of the Houston series.
Okay,
they had 3 guys last night that scored 21. So that's not
going to happen. Okay, Grizzlies fans feel good. That's not going to happen again. No, Yeah, I think of like the like if Malik Beasley drops 20 on you, if he has one of his like 4 or 5 3 games, you're like, oh, all right, their role players aren't going to do that every night. For me, Austin Reaves, like that guy's going to score 18. That's just what he does. That's not it. That's not an outlier. Yeah, maybe whatever it was, 6 out of 7 in the second half and scoring 10 straight in the fourth quarter. That's outlier-ish. But he's a good player, and he's someone like you can't be like, you have to game plan for him. That has to be part of your defensive plan of like, how do we guard, defend, and keep this guy from hurting us?
Exactly. And I think the Grizzlies adjustment there, they're going to go under his screens and see if he'll beat him on pull-up threes. Like, I think that's the next adjustment. If he starts hitting pull-up threes, I don't know what else I don't know what else to say there, but yeah, like to me, that's the adjustment for Memphis. Go under his screens a little bit more. And they were fighting over the top, and he was getting to his mid-range, and he loves that shot. That's a playoff shot. And so, yeah, we'll see if he can hit the volume threes.
We'll see. Well, thanks, Raj, again for coming on. Just a lot of fun talking basketball with you, and hopefully we'll chat again sometime.
Yeah, definitely.